for the Sequoia Community College District. Today is Monday, December 9th, 2024. And to start off, there are no reportable items to report from closed session. And then we'll start off with our Pledge of Allegiance. So John, can you help us with that?
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move on to public comment, I did want to acknowledge that we have Trustee-elect Connie Diaz in the audience. I just want to welcome you to our board. At this time, we will move on to public comment. Per board policy 2350, any person may address the board at any time, either on an agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker, with a maximum of 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. Let me see. I was going to ask if I could maybe get a show of hands of who would like to speak during public comment. We may extend, if it's all on the same topic, we might extend it more than 15 minutes. So at this time, I'd like to entertain public comments concerning items on the agenda. Items, sure.
Since I'm probably the senior member in the room.
No.
Well, I'm getting there. Hi, everybody. I think most of you know me. My name is it on?
Yeah.
My name is Annie Silva, and I just recently retired after almost 40 years as a full-time faculty here at COS. I came to COS the first year after Dr. Ivan Cruikshanks retired. And I worked under the next 8 presidents: Lincoln Hall, Hector, Bodricon, Scroggins, Don Goodyear, Stan Carsosa, and now Brent Calvin. I experienced many good years, but some very difficult years. And I have to say, aside from Lincoln Hall and Don Goodyear, I can truly say that the years with Brent Calvin as superintendent were a breath of fresh air. And Brent brought COS back to the family that it was when I first came here in 1986. His loyalty to COS and his commitment to the college has made COS one of the top community colleges in our state. He attends every function, every concert, every game, every fundraiser, as well as representing COS throughout our community. And I truly believe COS is a much better place because Brent is now our superintendent. And I think any compensation that is recommended by this board is truly very, very sincerely deserved. Thank you.
My name's Doug Silvera, and I too want to support Brent Calvin. I've known Brent a lot of years, and what's brought his leadership to the top is he has vested interest in this college. He was a student here. He was a student athlete here. He knows the community. He's a member of the community, unlike some of the other presidents who were here as a stepping stone. This is Brent's home. And he's shown that with his leadership. I want to reiterate, he's at every event I go to. And I was a student athlete here myself when Ivan Cruikshanks was here. And every play I go to, Brent's there. Every musical I go to or music department event, he's there. Every sporting event, some of them he's the announcer. The fashion department, he goes to their shows, etc. I don't think he ever leaves here. So I think you have someone who really cares about the students. He cares about the teachers. He makes this place a family, and I think that is a typical Vicelian, and that's what we need here. So Whatever you pay him, you probably ought to pay his wife a little extra because I don't think she sees him very much. But anyway, I want to give him my support, and I think he does a great job for our college. Thank you, Brent.
I'd like to speak on the same issue. Steve Tootle, I teach history here. And maybe to add just a slightly different perspective, because of my other academic interests, I'm in touch with people who teach throughout the state and throughout the United States. And I hear them talk about what it's like to try to survive in an academic environment in the year 2024. And having someone at the helm who is interested in the long-term best interest of the institution is particularly valuable, because we could end up with a rotating cast of permanent college presidents who chase bad money from the state and from the federal government and do something flashy that puts the college out of business in order to get to that next position somewhere else. And I would like to protest, particularly as someone who likes to get paid from this board, any logic out there that says that somehow we get a local discount and we should somehow punish him because he loves this institution so much. I hope this board knows that that is something that we should be rewarding rather than punishing. Someone who has deep roots and who is actually doing a good job, not just by our values, but by what educational institutions throughout the country really should be valuing. What is in the long-term best interest of this institution and the long-term best interest of our students? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Sorber. I'm the choral professor and vocal professor at College of the Sequoias. I'm just going to voice almost exactly the same things as what some of my friends have said. I'm here in support of Brent Calvin and the compensation that he is being offered. I serve on the board of the California Choral Directors Association, and so I'm often able to talk about my experience here at COS. And what I have heard over and over from my colleagues is, wow, that must be nice. I have had many great principals and presidents, but I have never had a president that attended our concerts, that goes to every game. Never. And I don't think any of my colleagues would say that they have someone that would either. I wrote a couple of words down. I'm a little bit nervous. You would think I was in front of audiences often, but Brent comes to everything, and when he comes to everything, he comes with a welcoming smile, which is not always there. I believe that he is the epitome of a servant leader. His work ethic is exemplary, and I believe that he is the face of COS. In this world where some CEOs are making 500 times their employees, ours is not. I believe he loves this institution, and I would like to see him compensated a little more appropriately. So I'm here in support of him. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Russell McKeith. I'm an animal science faculty member here at College of Sequoias at the Tulare campus. I'm not here just to speak on behalf of myself tonight in regards to the topic that's been talked. This is a division attempt, so we're in codifying as a group within the agriculture division to support the pay raise for President Calvin. So, Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, and community members, the COS Agriculture Division at College of the Sequoias is in favor of President Superintendent Dr. Brent Calvin's new contract. From our vantage point, Dr. Calvin is an outstanding and supportive leader for COS. He regularly attends the farm operation meetings and other events our Agriculture Division hosts, whether that's at the World Ag Expo, those farm op meetings at 7 a.m. Tuesday mornings. Tomorrow morning, yes. So he's out at the Tulare campus. He supports our equestrian team, our livestock show team. He was instrumental with the F3 grant with the community college partners in the Central Motherlode region. Additionally, as a division, we think there are more student support services for students, which is a direct result of his leadership and oversight of our college. And if we want to get foundational, we're here to serve students, and there's no better president, superintendent, in my opinion, in our division's opinion, than President Superintendent Brent Calvin. We truly believe he cares about our college students, faculty, and staff. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Brian Johnson. I'm another music department person, but maybe speaking on a couple different angles. I'm also a faculty advisor with student activities, and Dr. Calvin is not only at all the musical performances and these things, he's in dunk tanks at every student activities, all the different student groups. He's out there on the campus quad participating. And having taught for 10 years at a community college out at the East Coast, there was nothing like that in terms of a central figure who could draw the whole college together because of all the things he participates in. So I'm very much in support of compensation.
My name's Jody Allen. I'm the baseball coach, health and wellness and PE instructor here. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for your leadership. I'd like to thank Brent for his leadership. Other than Annie, I think I'm probably one of the most senior members in here. I think this is my 35th fall at College Sequoias, and I've seen the same presidents that Annie has seen come through here. And I can tell you this, that I've just been very impressed with our college over the years, and I've been extremely impressed with the culture that we have now. Not only do I think Dr. Calvin, I have a hard time calling him that, but anyway, that he attends everything and gets involved, but I just know that understanding it from two sides. I've had 4 children go through this college. All of them have degrees. All of them have had a great experience here. Played sports, music. Brian knows one of them. Anyway, I just think that there's something to leadership that people that belong here. And I think it's been mentioned that he's from Visalia. He's a Visalia guy. But I think more than that, the culture that he's had, and also what's said, what Mr. Schwarber said about going to other colleges. I can't tell how many meetings I've been to, and other coaches say, we wish we had what you had at COS. When other colleges look at you and say, we wish what you had at COS, I don't know that you can get a better compliment from the leadership that's going on. So I don't really know what you're paying him, but you need to pay him more.
My name is Tyler Newton. I'm the new women's basketball coach here, health instructor as well. I wasn't going to say anything, but I wanted to step up and say something because I think it's important to get different perspectives. And I'm here in support of Dr. Calvin because I don't have the same relationship that many of you do. I haven't been here for 30 years. I have a new, fresh set of eyes, but I think a lot of times is really important when speaking in important matters. I was at Butte College for 7 years as the head women's basketball coach there and saw my president one time. When I came and interviewed for this job, I didn't select to move here, and I have 4 small children and a wife that still aren't here. They're moving down here next year. But to be away from my family and come pursue a job here in Visalia because of the facilities or because of the athletic support or anything like that. I came here because we were walking around campus after my interview, and I saw Brent. He knows the name of every groundskeeper, facility person. He's shaking hands, kissing babies. You know, he's doing all these things. And I also come from a background of the corporate world. I've been a COO of a company. I've been a manager. And everybody knows that leadership can make or break a business, a company, any of that kind of stuff. people matter, and people matter to him. And I chose to come down here because I was tired of working for a college or being at a college where I felt like I didn't matter, no matter how much blood, sweat, and tears. We were the number one team in the state multiple years. Didn't matter. I didn't matter. And when I saw how much people mattered to him from top to bottom, it doesn't matter athletics, anything. That's something that I wanted to be a part of, and I was willing to be separated from my family for a short period of time for. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity, and I know that he's an amazing leader, and that's why I'm here to support him. Yes.
Tyler, if you happen to leave before we get around to board reports, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've seen on the basketball court. Just so everybody knows, right now, COS #1 team in the state for ladies basketball, and it's amazing to watch.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak, public comment on items concerning items on the agenda?
That was it, right? Wasn't that
Yeah,
it?
I just want to see if there's anyone.
Okay, anymore.
Well, is there anyone is there anyone else that wants to speak on items on the agenda? Okay. If I can get anyone who would like to speak, public comments concerning items not on the agenda, please.
Hello and good evening to all of you here. Hello and good evening to COS and your faculty. My name is Jacqueline Ramirez, and I would like to invite my machistas to be behind me in this following statement that I'm going to ask of you guys. So if I could have Yosef, Ashley, Carmelita stand behind me. I and the people behind me are all students here at COS. We're committed to the community, and if you know, Mecha has been one of the most community-connected clubs here for the past 3 years. I don't just represent Mecha as a club here in the local community, but as a national organization. I want whatever I'm about to say to be recorded in the minutes, please. I'm here to exceed COS to guarantee that this campus protects all their students, including undocumented students, in the next years coming, especially with the new president's administration. Trump's administration will be stepping into office soon, and it will be including with xenophobic, racist, homophobic, and transphobic rhetoric to include with this stepping in. So you all know, a lot of our students here, especially in our Mecha Club, are undocumented or come from undocumented families. We don't represent criminals. We don't represent that because we are students here. As you guys know, Calvin's very involved. I've interviewed him passing. That's when I first met him. So I know that he knows that we are good people. I am not going to let my people be pushed into a rhetoric of hatred, because all of our students here are wanting one thing, and it's an education. We want COS to be a safe haven. No matter how much, if you guys don't know, Tulare County continues to exceed to not be a safe haven, we ask COS to continue their support with Mecha, and in specific, putting out a statement that makes sure and guarantees our students will not be in danger of any immigration policy that comes within the next 4 years. I ask that people acknowledge that us as students, we work hard to get our grades, just like any documented student. We ask that we are humanized, and we ask for your empathy. This is no longer about politics, but about the safety of our students. Students that Calvin has probably shaken hands with, probably been in the same room with, and one day that could easily be taken away if that statement isn't put out. I also ask that you continue as COS to support gender theory, critical race theory, and any classes that support and encourage our community here on campus to learn about BIPOC, in specific Black, Indigenous, and people of color's history, including our queer and gender non-conforming history. Because if you don't know, Trump is threatening any colleges, including community colleges of any federal funding that has any classes that speak on trans rights, trans identities, queer identities, and anything within critical race theory. We want to guarantee that our education here isn't limited, that it isn't one perspective. Because as you can see, I'm probably making history right now. I don't want that to be hidden. Right now, we know the person that invited me, she's making history. And I don't want that to be forgotten. I want there to be a statement that best supports of all our community, no matter how much we fight for our Latino community. We also ask that you support the Palestinians here on our community and our campus. I want that within your support, it's not just words, but actions, removing any products that support any Israel occupation and the genocide of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, and even high schoolers that share this campus with us. In conclusion, Mecha asked that the COS board to put out a statement that includes the following things. First, to not participate in any immigration enforcement so that undocumented students are guaranteed protection here on campus. Second, to continue to have classes that teach about critical race theory, queer and trans history, and concepts. Third, but not very least, we ask COS to include in the statement where they stand when it comes to the genocide of Palestinian people. And if it is in support of the Palestinian community, then all products on campus that are in support or bought from Israeli occupation supporting companies to be taken out of our stores as soon as possible. This upcoming year, COS has the privilege to hold our nationals here. So over 100 chapters will be here. I don't want to embarrass us. We are such a positive point of our movement. People don't acknowledge that a lot of the desegregation, a lot of the anti-racist concepts started here in the Valley. We can't let it die here in the Valley. Our dicho, our saying that we're going to be having in our nationals, and I hope you guys are in support of this with the following statement that you put out as of the next following year. Unidos venceremos, globally and locally. Meaning, together we will succeed, globally and locally. Because without the support of my students, without the support of the Muslim community here on campus and in the high school campus that we share, I would not have the passion or strength to be here, because if I'm being honest, I'm terrified. But again, I ask for your empathy. I ask for your patience. Just as a patient Mecha will be with your education on the concept of what's going on in the genocide of Palestine, what's going on with Trump's administration that he's going to be pushing forward these coming 4 years, and also making sure that our queer and trans community members are feeling like they have a space here to be heard, to be respected, and to be seen. That's all I ask. Thank you.
That was wonderful. I did want to make a comment, but I think I might save it for when the item comes up. No, I appreciate the comments that were made in support of Dr. Calvin's contract. We will be reviewing it later in today's meeting, but a lot of things were considered. We didn't take this matter lightly. We took a lot of time to consider not only his contract, but all our employee groups. And we've been looking at it since before the summer. And so there's quite a few things I can highlight, but it's always nice to hear it from those that worked with Brent. And so we appreciate those that came up and shared your comments, because those are perspectives that you have, but perspectives that we see as well and that we take into consideration as well, as far as how hardworking Dr. Calvin is. So thank you very much. We're going to move on to board and executive staff reports, starting with our student trustee, Mr. Sanchez.
I have the reports for the surrounding campuses. So first thing first, Hanford highlights. On December 5th, a festive holiday hangout event was held at the Avenue's Coffee House. Students were able to enjoy holiday movies, create seasonal arts and crafts, and warm up with hot cocoa provided by the Avenue. On December 6th, the CTE Caravan for Foster Youth kicked off at the COS campus. Administration of Justice instructor Sidney Hammett, Director of the Police Academy Tom Wilson, Director of Paramedic and Fire Nick Branch, and Fire Tech Coordinator Rick Smith showcased the programs available at the Hanford campuses. sharing available information with over 40 high school students from Tulare and Kings County. On December 4th, the Career Service Team, coordinated by Jolene Willis, hosted its first ever mock interview event for current police and police academy cadets. And last week, the paramedic program held its first round of scenario-based training with ambulances, simulation dummies, and equipment to replicate real-life emergency situations. Additionally, they welcomed a Skylife medical helicopter to the campus. The helicopter provided EMT and paramedic students with a hands-on safety operations demonstration. And that was for the Hanford campuses for Tulare. And from December 2nd to the 5th, COS Tulare held a finals de-stress event where students enjoyed goodie bags, snacks at the tutorial center, and painting coasters and drinking hot cocoa, as well as free drinks from the bookstore.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, thank you for your report.
Yes, sir.
Before we move on to board member reports, if there was anyone here that was here for public comment that'd like to step out, we'll take a 30-second pause. But you guys are all welcome to continue to join us for the entire board meeting, but just like to mention that if you were here for the public comment section, you may excuse yourself if you like. Moving on to board member reports, we'll start with Trustee Sherman.
No report.
Trustee Nunes.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of things. Since our last board meeting, I was happy to attend the latest performance of the play was called Noises Off, and it was a little different from what I'm used to seeing, but it was a great presentation nonetheless. And congratulations to James McDonald, Chris Mangos, and all the staff. I happened to run into Steve Lamar, who was helping out with the production. Had a nice talk with him. I've also attended several men's and women's basketball games since our last meeting. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't had a chance to see either one of those, don't wait too long. As it so happens, at the basketball game on Friday, I was sitting by this couple that had COS T-shirts on, and they were rooting them on. And so at halftime, I asked them if they had a young lady on the team, and they told me no, but that their daughter was one of the assistant coaches. And so we talked, and during the course of our conversation, they told me, and they live in Walnut Creek, by the way, so I don't know how often they come down, but they told me how impressed they were with COS, their facilities, and everything they've seen on campus. They went on to tell me about the convocation and how their daughter told them about the food spread that we had, and and how amazing that was. So kudos to Zach, I think, because he does a great job with that.
No, not Zach, Vanessa and Rosa.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the creative ones over there.
That was
Zach
for,
too,
that was for
That's
Tyler
right.
Newton's behalf. So looks like your assistant coach has a couple of great parents and give you a lot of support. Also, the COS Foundation had their holiday reception last week, and a lot of great people there as well. We had over 40 people that volunteer for the foundation and do great work on behalf of the students here. And so that was a great event as well. So that's my report.
Very good, thank you very much. Trustee Lane.
Nothing to add.
The things I wanted to mention, I did attend a basketball game for the Lady Giants, and it was a very exciting game. It was a very high-scoring game, and there's a certain point where I feel kind of bad for the team. It was a
I wouldn't want to play him.
wonderful performance. So I took my son to go watch and had a good time. And I look forward to their ongoing success here at COS. I also attended the Latino Alumni Association event. They had a mixer to welcome new alumni. And it was a nice opportunity to meet former alumni students from COS and then just network and fundraise and just talk about the future of recruiting more members and doing great things for COS. The only other thing I wanted to mention is every year I personally get involved in the hygiene drive that the marketplace hosts. And I encourage everyone to make donations to our marketplace, but I also, up until the 20th, collect items. You know, those are the things that are needed for our students: toothpaste, deodorant, and I have a small event at my house and encourage people to, instead of bringing food or any gifts, they bring hygiene items, and so we'll look forward to making our contribution again this year. So,
Are we still in a contest?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so
I think so.
if you have donations, bring them my way. He's having an event at his house, like.
I'm very happy. I think we raised a couple $100 and maybe over 300 items, so that's the marker, and hoping to double or triple that. So,
That's great. Good for
yeah,
you,
looking
Ray.
for that. Thank you. Okay, next up is our foundation report. Mr. Foster. I don't see
Tim had a sudden attack of the back and did not have a report, so let's just move on.
I reported on his behalf.
You did. Thank you, Ken.
Accreditation report, Dr. Lacerna.
I'll save it for the action item.
Wonderful. Dr. Calvin, Superintendent President's report.
Well, just quickly, we've touched upon the things I really wanted to hit. A couple of fabulous concerts last week. Jazzy Christmas is tomorrow night, 7 p.m. In the theater. So if this has inspired you to come out and check out our music department, tomorrow night's the night. Congratulations to Tyler and his staff and our wonderful student athletes. I believe this is my 23rd year. I believe it's the first time that we've won the Gilchrist Invitational while I've been here. It attracts the top teams in the state, and even in our good years, I don't know that we've won it in the last quarter century. So that's pretty amazing. We also hosted the first Pepsi Sequoia Bowl a couple Saturdays ago. We brought that back after 3 decades of being dormant, so that was exciting. Lost the game 38-35, but another fabulous year. That's 5 years in a row we've been bowl eligible. The first time we've hosted a bowl in 30 years. Enrollment was through the roof this fall. Absolutely incredible, the enrollment that we've had here at the College of the Sequoias. And it starts with marketing and advertising, and it runs through student services, our faculty, student support throughout the way. It's a total team effort. If we have 800 employees here, it takes all 800 to do this thing right. And if you think that's normal to be 10% over our enrollment cap, you're wrong. There are colleges that are absolutely struggling in our system. You hear a lot about the fiscal cliff they're heading for. We don't have that issue here because we have such phenomenal enrollment, and it is a team effort. So thank you to everyone. I also wanted to welcome Connie, a welcome surprise to have you here. Lori couldn't be here tonight, but she wanted me just to pass on her good tidings to all of you. She had a magnificent run, 20 years. We don't need to go into all the wonderful things that she was able to accomplish, and I know that Connie's going to pick up that baton and run with it as well. So fortunate here to have good people willing to volunteer their time and support students in this region. So thanks to Connie for being here, and thank you, Lori, for 20 remarkable years. And thank you, board members, for everything you do. We got it good here, and it starts here in the boardroom. So thank you very much. End of my report.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Any questions for Dr. Kelvin? No? Moving on to reports, Academic Senate President's Report Update, Mr. Juan Arzola.
Buenos dias, good evening, everybody, board members, and just want to start by acknowledging the service of Trustee Cardoza. Thank you for everything you did during your time of service here. and welcome to the incoming trustee, Connie. Looking forward to your leadership. Just a real brief report. The Academic Senate met last month, and we began with looking at our CPL processes. This was connected to our initiative that we adopted earlier in the fall, and we agreed to hold a special meeting to host colleagues from Norco College who have been leading the charge. First with the military articulation platform, which has since been transformed into the Mapping Articulated Pathways, which is a statewide effort to help institutions throughout the state improve their efforts at awarding credit for prior learning. And this is something that I hope the faculty are gonna jump behind. So December 4th, last week, we hosted those folks. It was a well-attended meeting. Looking forward to leaning into that work in the upcoming semester and of course going forward. Beyond that, the other thing that I wanted to mention as part of my work with the ASCCC, the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges, right before Thanksgiving break, I had the opportunity to come into community with about 800 student leaders throughout the state for the Student Senate for California Community Colleges Advocacy Academy. I was asked to provide a couple presentations on legislative advocacy and strategies to carry that out. Because I'm a political science instructor, I guess. It was well attended. I got to chop it up with Toby, our budget director for our local Senate. And it was a wonderful, wonderful learning experience. Students really know how to turn up, y'all. And as I told my colleagues at our ASCCC executive meeting last week, we can learn a thing or two from students on how to put on our events. Just well worth the time spent. And thank you for everything. And that's it.
Great job. Great report. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Redden, Costa President's Report Update.
Hi. So just to mention the students' little presentation there, I do remember that President Calvin, I believe, I remember this correctly, that you put out a statement after Trump first got elected, his first round. I think there was some kind of statement. I haven't seen something similar, so maybe something similar can happen this time around, I'm hoping. So we support that, I think, all of us, faculty do. So now going on to what I wrote. So, I need my glasses. I have really bad vision lately. I don't know if that helps. So first, I would like to, I know she's not here, I'm hoping she'll watch the video or something, but I would really like to thank Trustee Cardoza for her 20 years of service and her role in the development and expansion of our two centers. When Tulare becomes a campus, she'll be able to say, well, I was part of that driving force. So thank you, Lori. I also want to acknowledge President Calvin for his efforts to make salaries more equitable for our faculty, especially this time around. I do believe he generally cares about ensuring fairness for our employees, and I've seen it time and time, and with our grievances. So I would like to address the matter regarding our board policy 2100 that states the term of office for each trustee shall be 4 years, commencing on the first Friday in December following the election. However, as you know, Ed Code 5017 now says that it is on the second Friday of the month. The change was made in 2018 and took effect January 2019. We have had 6 years to update this BP, yet when it was revised on April 10th, 2023, we failed to align it with the updated law. While I'm pleased that we are finally addressing this oversight, I must express concern about the optics of the situation with the rescheduling of the organizational meeting next week. Given the timing, there could be a perception that the board has deliberately delayed the trustees' confirmation in order to fast-track President Calvin's contract. Like I said, just could be a perception. So he was already on a 4-year contract, so I do not know why a new contract was renegotiated. Additionally, the contract specifies that upon a positive evaluation, the board may consider a raise each year. However, what I don't know is what constitutes a positive evaluation. I'm thinking maybe there should be a clear definition in the contract on what qualifies as such. Furthermore, the language around the salary increase, I'd just like to mention that the contract states that it gives a 5% raise every year for the next 3 years, but there's still an opener for salary every year. And I'm just not sure that it's super clear that it's on top of or if it's in lieu of. And so I think that wording can be just clarified a little bit better in there. It also states that the COLA will be his raise after the 4 years are up, but in that paragraph, it references paragraph 1 of the contract about term limits to justify this. When I go back and read that paragraph, I don't see it mentioning it in there. Adding the statement about COLA does seem that the contract can go on indefinitely, making it longer than a 4-year contract, to me. That's what it appears to be. So given these concerns, both the ambiguity in the contract and the potential negative optics of the timing, I do recommend that the board delay the vote of President Calvin's contract. It could always be retroed. This will allow for a more thorough review, ensuring that all the details are clear and that the process is transparent and fair. So thank you for your consideration and your time.
Would you like a comment, or do you want me to I
Okay,
can chat with you?
I mean,
I was just gonna say that we actually did intend to bring it up last month, but for due diligence, we wanted to have our counsel review it, our legal counsel.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why we delayed it another month. It just happened to be that.
Well, like I said, I wasn't accusing anybody.
No, I'm just giving you
I'm
a
just saying
reason
there's
for
that,
the
that could be an appearance of
I appreciate that.
optics, that's all.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Next up, I'd like to invite Ms. Kane for CSEA President's Report and Update.
Good evening. A little taller than Tracy. There we go. Alrighty. CSEA wants to extend our gratitude to Trustee Cardoza for the 20 years of service that she gave to this board. And we would like to extend our warmest welcome to newly elected Trustee Connie Diaz in the audience today, as well as congratulate Trustee Raymond Macareno on his reelection. We look forward to attending Connie's swear-in next week and to working with this new board over the next 2 years. CSEA will start presenting a monthly staffing report, or classified staffing report, to give a pulse of the health of the staff unit as it directly relates to operational effectiveness. I'm going to go ahead and pass those. The primary features of this report will be internal and external hiring rates since tracking began in January 2023, average job vacancy for the past year, total current vacant positions, and employee changes not reported to the board in the monthly personnel report. As you can see on the report given to you, COS currently, did we need another one? As you can see on the report given to you, COS currently has 7 vacant positions for classified staff, which is awesome. Average job vacancy is currently 77 days. We would like to give praise on that. That has come down significantly over the last year, and we very much appreciate the effort put in on that. Internal hiring rate is currently just over 30%. External hiring rate is just above 69%. So we do generally bring in most of our new hires from outside COS. There is currently a just under 3% promotion rate for classified staff and just over an 8% turnover rate. Currently, for all active classified staff, the average tenure of existing staff is 8.75 years. That is nice. We'd love to see people staying here a little bit longer, considering they come in a little bit fairly young, but it's not awful. We have a few current staffing concerns that we would love to see attention to from the district. The current average job vacancy, while it has come down, it is still over 1.5 times the length of time to be allowed to be worked by a substitute, which does leave significant remaining work on the remaining employees. And this can be a particular issue for already overworked departments such as financial aid, admissions and records, and tech services, as you can imagine if you've ever worked in an understaffed department. I was prepared to report that we added a major complex that effectively doubled the size of Tulare campus without adding any additional IT, grounds, custodial, or maintenance personnel. However, I was notified on Friday that a single custodial employee was added in consideration of the expansion. Tulare currently has 4 custodians, 2 groundspeople, and 1 IT staff person for the existing campus, and they are already stretched thin over multiple buildings and the farm. The California School Business Officers custodial staffing formula states that we should have a conservative minimum of 8 to 9 custodians at the Tulare campus before accounting for the new buildings. After adding 3 additional buildings and a quad area with only 1 additional staff person, we urge the district to continue to consider where additional staffing could be possible to help meet student and facility demand. In addition to the ESS building that was added to the Visalia campus workload last year with no added custodians or groundspeople, the university center being developed will also require additional IT, grounds, custodial, or maintenance personnel. That same CASBO custodial staffing formula conservatively states that we should have a minimum of 23 to 24 custodians at the Visalia campus currently, before accounting for that new center. We currently have 15. We encourage the district to be proactive in planning staffing for the launch of the center. On behalf of staff, I would also like to speak on the new employment contract for the president superintendent. I do want to be very clear that my intent is not to contradict, disregard, diminish, or reduce in any way any positive statement that has been made about the leadership of Dr. Calvin. Not even just at schools, but I've worked for my share of bad companies and under bad leaders, and understand that that's not what's happening at COS. I can genuinely and honestly say that. But I also understand that there is nuance to every situation. Nothing's black and white, and I think that 2 things can be true at the same time. Since the agreement was released last week, CSEA did survey our staff. About half of classified staff responded, and over 90% of them were opposed to the raise as currently presented for Dr. Calvin. The words being used in their responses are hypocrisy, injustice, insulting, disproportionate, unjustifiable, and so on. Annual longevity is not a common practice for any employee group in the district, and it does seem unjustifiable to give that to a singular employee of the district and not to others. This agreement states that the board is allowed to consider other salaries throughout the state in consideration of raises for the president superintendent. The president's current salary, as we've mentioned before during our own negotiations, his current salary is $32,000 over the average salary for all community college presidents, including larger districts like Los Angeles State Center and North Orange. When staff are repeatedly told that it would not be fair to ask for our salaries to be comparable to those same districts due to the difference in cost of living, that point is insulting. If our salaries cannot be compared to the Bay Area or LA, neither should anyone else's, and it is unjust to do otherwise. Staff and faculty had to fight for our 2.7%, and we were told that if we thought a 5 to 6% raise for employees was possible, that we were going to be looking at going into impasse. We were repeatedly told that the board would never fully support paying health insurance for employees because they want us to feel every increase so that we don't take it for granted. To then turn around and grant a singular employee a raise 3 times what any other employee gets when that employee already makes 5 times the median salary of staff members shows a tone deafness to the current social climate regarding inflated executive salaries. A true leader leads with example and with humility. And to be clear, I am not against the president superintendent receiving a raise. I'm even open to his raise being slightly higher because of the heft of his responsibilities. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander, particularly when public funds are in question, and triple the raise of other employees does seem excessive. All COS employees, as was just mentioned, contribute to the success that the district has seen in recent years. And that's from the administration down to those amazing people in food services and custodial. I earnestly encourage the board to postpone voting on the president and superintendent's employment agreement until the terms can be revised to a more reasonable amount that reflects an equitable view of all district employees' contributions, management, faculty, and staff alike. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Katie. I know that our board members will probably want to chime in, if not now, probably when the agenda comes up. But I just think I need to make one clarifying. I didn't call you on it the first 2 or 3 times you said it. And I know you're not trying to deceive people, and I don't think you're incompetent, but one of the 2 things has to be happening, because you know that when you compare me statewide, it shouldn't be to presidents. That's half my job. I'm also a CEO, and when you compare me to the CEOs, I'm about 50th out of 73 on the list. There are superintendent presidents at schools smaller than ours that make over $100,000 more than I do. We did the same analysis for Costa. I think Costa's 5 or 6 in the state out of 73 districts, larger than San Diego, LA, San Francisco, and Sacramento.
I don't represent Costa, and I don't
I know
argue
you
that
do.
they're well compensated.
But they're in the top 10. I think CSEA is in the top 10. I'm at 50 or so out of 73 districts for CEOs. You've repeatedly compared me to presidents, which is great, but it's half my job. And that's the only thing I wanted to clarify. That your opinions are great and eloquently stated. We can agree to disagree on some things, but I just needed to correct that. I've let it go 2 or 3 times, and you needed to be corrected on that one point. So thank you, and nicely done.
Anyone else have anything to say?
I'll save it for when the item comes up. Next up, invite Ms. Alberti, COSAFA President's Update. Please.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Charles Slatt. I've been the COSAFA Secretary Treasurer for, I believe, 6 years now. I've been on campus for 12. Part-time faculty since 2016. I used to manage the bookstore as well. So a few things as well. I want to thank Lori for her 20 plus years of service at the district. I have seen the district change quite a bit. When I was first brought on, it was Stan Carazosa's first semester in the fall, and that was a fun time, I remember. And then we got to talk about accreditation and not going down that road again, right? So I wanted to kind of have another report as part-time faculty to kind of highlight some of the other aspects that we're talking about too, and kind of echo some of the things that that our staff has been feeling, especially in light of this contract as well. So we would like to take the time to address this. Also, I forgot to welcome Connie as well, sorry, about this new contract between the superintendent, President Calvin, that is on action today. Since we signed our proposing negotiations earlier, COSAFA and the district negotiated throughout the summer into September to come up with a new 3-year agreement. In that time, we were constantly reminded of the state of the economic conditions and the official position that the increases for faculty would be difficult, even if it meant direct access to our students, which included larger budgets for office hours and training for our part-time faculty. However, as these rounds of negotiations, we settled on a contract that would give us a small raise, the 2.07 plus the COLA plus 1 over the next couple of years, including longevity steps of 10, 15, and 20 years. That would have a 2.5% increase. So as such, when we saw the contract come up on Thursday night, the longevity increases that we saw at 5% of that year as a reopened contract came onto the board, and our members became skeptical. Our employment from our members can be perilous at times, especially in light of the challenging enrollment numbers of some departments. Like you said, Moreland's been looking good. My classes next semester are looking great. I know there's a lot of good enrollment, but it's not across the board. So class cancellations can kind of be a personal issue for some of our members. So especially in that context, are we looking at these lower classes differently based off of off of this aspect. We have worked tirelessly to illustrate our value into the district for this. Earlier last year, we approached the district about part-time faculty health insurance plan that can be fully funded in the state. In negotiating with the district didn't feel that they would want to be let on the hook in case funding ran out of this. So in the context of having this new contract and health insurance for those aspects, for an institution that prides itself on providing equitable access to its community through the programs it runs and presenting its image on the good that we do here, does the contract align with these narratives? Our members voted unanimously that they believe the contract should be more equitable in these contracts that were negotiated this year, and we urge the board to postpone on this as well. Thank you.
Moving forward to information, the 2024 annual report on the COS 2015-2025 master plan. Dr. Calvin.
Thank you, President Macareno, and if I forget to thank him at the end, thank you to Dr. Osterk, Ryan Berry Souza, and Tyler Verdon for all of their work from the research team, as well as IPEC for that committee's work. This is something that we do annually. That's how annual progress reports work, I guess. For those of you that aren't familiar with this, we've got our participatory governance structure on the left. That just shows how decisions get made at the College of the Schoolways. And then on the right, this is our model for integrated planning. This is what assures that the time we spend, the money we spend, all feeds up and drives our mission. And we do that because our master plan with 4 broad goal areas is aligned with that mission. And then the strategic plan is normally a 3 or 4 year document. It has district objectives that serve to support those broad goal areas. And you see how this works when units go through institutional program review. They ask for resources. When those are allocated, they implement plans, and they assess their outcomes, and those outcomes land in this annual college report on the master plan. This is all documented in our integrated planning manual, seen right here. Again, all part of the 10-year master plan from 2015 through 2025. Our strategic plans are either 3 years, or in this case 4 years, to round out the 10-year plan. Next summer, we will commence on a new master plan and a new 3-year strategic plan. This is in sharp contrast to the way things used to be done in what we call COS 1.0. We would do 5-year strategic plans, and I guess he's got it set up here to be a quiz. I'll just jump to the punchline. Look at that. You talk about an unwieldy document, 20 goal areas and 134 objectives. Needless to say, back in those days, we didn't get even a small percentage of this work done. It was just very, very difficult to track. This is what we currently have in our 10-year master plan, our current 4-year strategic plan. We've got 1 mission, 4 broad goal areas, 10 objectives, and 40 day-to-day actions. And they all serve to complement one another. Those 40 actions are in support of the 10 objectives, which are in support of the 4 broad goal areas: growth, success, equity, and sustainability. And they're in support of our 1 mission. Oh, there we go. There's the 4 broad goal areas. Again, growth, success, equity, and sustainability. Flesh that out a little bit here. Objective 1.1 is to grow the district by 2% from 21 through 25. Objective 2.1 through 2.4 in the area of success all have to do with increasing degrees and certificates, having more students that are transfer ready, seeing our students pass transfer level, quantitative reasoning, and English, as well as supporting our CTE students. In the area of equity, reducing the equity gaps in our course success rates by 40% over the 4-year period, and increasing the course success rates by 10% for all of our disproportionately impacted groups with transfer level quantitative reasoning and English by the end of their first year. And then finally, none of that first 3 items really means that much if we can't sustain it, which is why we have a goal area number 4 for sustainability. 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3 are all designed to make sure what we do this year we'll do the following year and the following year and the following year. This is comes right out of our integrated planning manual. It just shows the timeline for how we prepare this report. My eyes are much too old. I can't read it from here, but most of you can see. This is all really lockstep and documented in our integrated planning manual so that when it's time to present this report, we know the guidelines to follow. And that's part of accreditation. We've got to have procedures and processes, policies set up so to where our institution is not personality driven. It doesn't take 1, 2, 5, 10 people specifically to run this stuff. We should be able to run a district with whoever steps into these various roles, and we've been very successful with that. We all lose key people from time to time, and it's important to be able to continue rowing the boat in the right direction. So again, I thanked him to begin with, but I'll thank him again, the IPEC members, as well as our Dynamite research team. Lots and lots of work goes into this report, and if I started detailing out everything else that these groups are working on right now, your head would spin. It's been a very, very busy couple of years for IPEC and our research folks, but you never know it. They're just a great bunch of folks doing good work. So finally, I'd just like to give you a little excerpt. We're not going to go through the entire 70-page report, but we do have 8 or 10 slides to kind of chronicle several of the highlights and just show you sort of how this works. But it's cut up into 3 parts. An update on the actions completed from last year, fall 23 and spring 24, an analysis of our district's movement towards achieving those goals, and then the identification of the actions to be completed in the current year. Because again, if we don't complete an action within any given year, unless we abandon those, we're going to roll them over into the following year to make sure we keep chipping away at them. Our options for these objectives are either completed, eliminated, included in the 24-25 actions, or ongoing or institutionalized. Here's just a kind of a blank template to give you an idea about what we're looking at. We show the assessment and then we show the progress. So here's probably the easiest one. It's such a binary decision. You see that we wanted to increase our FTEs 2% in the 4 years. This is kind of a tricky year or a tricky time because if you look back at the 2021 year, like everyone else, we were being adversely affected from COVID. So our starting point's a little bit lower, and using that model, the numbers like an 19% increase since 2021. But if you back it up a year and you look at what our numbers for FTES were in the 18-19 or the 19-20 year, you see we're in the mid-10,000s. And so if you fast forward to the 23-24 year, 10,755, I think it comes up to, depending on which year you start with, a 1 to 2% increase. And by the time we close out this strategic plan, because remember, this current year is the last year of our 4-year plan, we'll easily hit that 2%. And the other caveat I should note is, regardless what we say we're going to grow by, we've got to be careful and manage it with our funding capacity. And currently that 10,755, is about four, close to 500 FTEs over what the state's going to pay us for. So a lot of times, if we're not going to get paid for it, we'll push it into the next year when we can, just for safekeeping, just in case we have another COVID that affects our funding. At least we're starting with a little head start, and that's what's happening this year. We pushed a significant amount of FTS into the new year, just in case we were to need it. And while I'm here, and kind of unrelated to the research team, I also want to thank Dr. Kristen Robinson. She is our former provost of the Hanford campus and the dean of enrollment management, sitting back there, and she just does a fabulous job with ensuring that our enrollment numbers are where they need to be, looking at wait lists and other things. And we always like to have a cushion over and above our funding capacity. We don't like to have a razor thin margin, but we also don't want to pay for things that we're not going to get paid for. What entity wants to do too much of that? And Dr. Robinson does a remarkable job of keeping us on track, as do our vice presidents, division deans, and division chairs. So thank you to those groups as well.
Hey, Brent.
Yes, sir.
Could I, so on this, based on the new model for the funding formula?
Student center funding formula, yes.
The average amount per FTES is about how much? Or is there?
Well, it used to be we would get $5,500 per full-time equivalent student, and a full-time equivalent student is based on kind of the old model that was in service when a lot of us went to college, which was you take 15 units in the fall and you take 15 units in the spring. Now what they do is they just kind of take all of the units that all of our students take, either a 3-unit welding class and the individual's gone, versus someone that stays here like Mackay and gets 60 or 70 units towards a degree. We take all those units in a given year and then divide them by 30, simplifying it a little bit, and that gives us our full-time equivalent students. It used to be we'd get $5,500 a piece, and that was all we got. Now we get something less than that, but in addition, there are a couple new buckets. One of which is the number of disadvantaged students we have, the number of students on full financial aid Pell Grants and things like that. If we have those students and they're passing transfer level English or math in their first year here and some things like that, we get some success money and some equity money on top of that. So there's not a hard, fast number anymore, but if we're doing our job right, it's considerably more than the 5,500. But it's still about half of what that same student would bring in for a 4-year university like Fresno State, and it's probably a third of what that same student would bring in if they were going to a UC. So we're still at a disadvantage relative to the other two systems in the higher ed hierarchy here in California. So this is goal area number 2. I think they've chosen to focus on 2.1 student graduates, and you can see that we're substantially ahead what we should be in any given year. But the number of students earning a degree or certificate increased by 11% there. And then CTE was even higher, doing a heck of a job on the CTE side as well. And again, all the detail for these is in that 65-page report. I just didn't think we'd want to be here all night. In terms of 2.2, transfer ready, this is something that we really need to work on, and we do think our university center will help chip away at this. We have so many graduates that, not only at COS, but West Hills, Porterville, Reedley, that choose to stop out after getting an AA degree. That's unfortunate. And part of it is because the cost of either commuting or having a dorm or an apartment in Fresno or Bakersfield. It's why we got so many standing ovations presenting to school boards talking about the university center back in the fall of 22. Families want to have a local four-year option here locally, and as of the fall of 2028, we'll have that. It's going to be a game changer for our region. But we did make progress in this area, just not as much as what we'd like to see. In the area of equity, we started out with 23 student groups we were monitoring as disproportionately impacted groups. We ended up with 7 that still fall into what we call disproportionately impacted student groups in terms of course success rates. And watching that pretty closely, it really allows us to plan better, and it allows our counselors and our student success specialists to be aware of those populations and work at interventions and tutoring, math lab, writing centers to come alongside those student groups and help them achieve with their colleagues. And then finally, I think staying in equity, increasing the course success rate by 10% for each of our disproportionately impacted student groups in their transfer level quantitative reasoning and English courses. Again, we've made progress on all the actions in 3.2, and all these actions will be ongoing. This is really good work. It's just something that we should be aware of at all time and continue to chip away. We like to set these objectives and goals high so that we're not easily achieving them, and at this point we're not achieving them, but we are making progress towards them. And then here it is, the final area is sustainability. I think in our new master plan, the goal area will be continuous improvement, but it's just our way of saying enough is never enough, and we want to continue to get better in terms of increasing the effective use of data and transparency in our decision-making at all institutional levels from 21 to 25. You can see the progress down the right-hand side, the work in the Academic Senate as well as DGS. The district has made progress on all these actions in Objective 4.1, and all these actions will be ongoing for the 24-25 year. As a summary, we've got, I think, 36 of these actions that have either been completed or institutionalized, which is a good thing, and then the other 4 rolled over into the 24-25 year. If you're interested, and I would recommend, if you haven't yet, visit our institutional planning document on the research page. This is just rich information that is kind of the envy of planners and decision makers up and down the state. Our research team is in high demand for how we do things here. We've got so many research reports and other documents and plans that you can look at, and you can look out over time and how things have changed here at the College of the Sequoias. 10, 12 years ago, we couldn't have said that. We didn't do a good job with research and planning, and this year at this time we're one of the top in the state at preparing and using research documents.
Thank you, Dolly.
Way to go, Dolly. Dolly, Ryan, and Tyler, they crushed it. Thanks so much. Questions, board members?
Well, that last thing you mentioned is one of the reasons we got written up for accreditation. Is
It's a big reason why. It's a big
research.
reason why. Now they have us doing trainings on it. So there you go. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your report. Next, we're moving on to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees, as well as any member or any person in the audience, and considered a separate agenda item. The items are minutes to the previous meeting, personnel report, payment of bills, 2024-2025 working budget approval, curriculum, out-of-state travel requests, approval of sole source vendor, approval of agreement for emergency demolition of residential properties, and emergency abatement of hazardous materials at residential properties. Anyone like to pull any items? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Lane, second by trustee Sherman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Next is action items. Number 11, annual organization meeting 2024, date change, Dr. Calvin.
Yes, we were hoping to be able to do the organizational meeting as well as the trustee Diaz's swearing in tonight, as we normally did in conjunction with our normal meeting schedule. And we're informed that we could not do that. It couldn't be before Friday, the 13th, anytime between the 13th and the 27th. So we've rescheduled it. That worked for all but one of our trustees for Monday, the 16th at 5 p.m. right in here. The idea is to swear in our news trustee and do an appointment for our continuing trustee, knock out the organizational meeting. Shouldn't take too long, and then reconvene for a reception into room 1 for pictures and snacks and things like that. It should be nice. So that'll be next Monday at 5 p.m.
I move we approve.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Sherman, seconded by trustee Nunes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Next, item 12, accreditation, ACCJC institutional self-evaluation report, second read. Dr. Lucerna.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Calvin. We have the second read of our ACCJC report that is due December 15th. We were able to see it at the last meeting, so this is your second read. We've updated it a little bit since last time, finished some final edits, and added some links to some great videos. So we're really excited about it. This has, as mentioned last time, been approved by has been reviewed and approved by the District Governance Senate, Academic Senate, and brought forth here. And I want to give a special thanks to our accreditation work group, especially our evidence team, Daniel Alvarado and Sarah Harris, Daniel in my office and Sarah Harris, who is our co-chair on this, and present this to you for approval.
Questions, just kind of a shorter repeat of last time's kudos to all those involved. I know that many people have read at least parts of it and contributed to that. I would just highly recommend that the deans and division chairs encourage everybody in their divisions to at least glance through it, because it's such, it's like the encyclopedia of COS.
Yeah.
To me, just a wonderful document.
Thank you.
With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I would so move.
Second.
Motion by trustee Nunes, seconded by trustee Sherman. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you. We will, and if I can just add some news. So we will be submitting that. We'll finish it up and submit it by the 15th. Our ICER review is scheduled for March 18th, 2025, and the team will be here on September 15th, 2025. We now have the names of all of the team members, and we know most of the folks that will be coming out, so we're excited to see them. Our VP accreditation liaison from ACCJC, Melanie Scheil, will be joining us. She's new, so she hasn't been able to meet us, although I know her very well. Several of us know her well. She hasn't been here and to meet all of us, so she'll be joining us on January 30th, hopefully for the ribbon cutting at the new Tulare CTE complex, and then she will be here Friday, January 31st, to meet with the accreditation work group and other campus members to get to know us a little bit before the visits and everything. And then the other thing is that the ACCJC just announced their regular meeting of January 8th as a regular open meeting that they hold twice a year. So that announcement just went out that is January 8th in Sacramento. Yes, sir.
So after submission of the ISER, when would you reasonably expect to have any comments back prior to the actual site visit?
So they will, everyone is pretty much in January, they're going to start looking at our report, reviewing it, and having a chance to ask questions, but they will meet on March 18th. The team will actually meet in person in Los Angeles, and they will talk together, review everything. We may get some questions before then, but most likely it'll be on the 18th when they all pull down together the questions. I would expect we would get that within a week. And what they will send us is basically clarification, they'll request for clarification or for additional information. And that could be things that they think are really positive. They may want to give us a commendation on, so they want to know more about it. Or maybe some areas that they think we didn't respond enough or they want a little bit more information on. We'll get that right after they meet on the 18th, probably within a week. And we have time to respond and give that all back before they get here. All right. Thank you very much. Glad that's over.
Item 13, approval of appointment for the members of the Measure C Visalia Area Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Dr. Calvin.
Thank you, President Macanino. Standing in for Vice President Perez tonight. And he's visiting grandsons on the East Coast tonight. But under Prop 39 guidelines, we needed to appoint a bond oversight committee. And we haven't named the student or the taxpayer representative yet, but we have gotten commitments from Adam Peck, the director of the Workforce Investment Board, representing business organizations. We've got a commitment from Al Branco representing senior citizens. Tom Giampetro, former foundation president for the College Support Organization. And then two at-large, Stephanie Amaral and Scott Jacobson, have been instrumental in the kind of the development of the university center. And wanted to stay involved on that. Looking for your approval of that committee.
You got a great committee. I mean, I recognize all the names there, so it's a great committee to represent Measure C, so I move to approve.
Motion to approve by Trustee Sherman, seconded by Trustee Lane. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Next is item 14, board policy, second read. Dr. Calvin.
Just got one board policy tonight, second read, BP 4030, academic freedom. This has been worked on for a fair length of time. You can see, like as we did last month, that there's two areas under B and D of bolded, underlined new text. And most of that replaces what was in H below, kind of some outdated language that they took and added a definition in B, and then added to D in terms of academic freedom and responsibility. This is a 10+1 item that gets approved by the Academic Senate. They've done that. It's also made its way through District Governance Senate for review and comment, and that's happened as well. Happy to accept a motion on BP 4030.
I would move for approval of, is this AP, board policy?
Yeah, BP.
BP 4030.
Second.
Motion from Trustee Newton, seconded by Trustee Sherman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
You can say it.
Yes.
Item 15, board policy, first read, Dr. Calvin.
Yes, this is a first read on BP 4250, which is academic notice, progress notice, dismissal, and readmission. This is required from the state. Most of this comes verbatim from the chancellor's office league recommendations. But there were just a few things that we weren't comfortable with as an institution. At one time, probation was the right term. We feel like it takes on a negative connotation in terms of justice involved individuals, and just wanted to get that out of our sort of our vernacular. And so we've replaced that with dismissal. The chancellor's office gave us that option, so we've taken it. And that's about the only thing we've done. But again, this is just the first read. Happy to take any questions or concerns back to the authors if the board so chooses.
Student trustee, actually on the next one, I'll ask for an advisory vote because it does deal with students. And so this time we'll move it to, or propose it to be moved to the second one, but next meeting I'd like to ask for an advisory vote, how you feel about this board policy. So with that, if there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I do have just a comment. It's interesting to me. I mean, I certainly get and support your statement, Dr. Calvin, with regard to the term probation. It seemed to me that replacing that with dismissal is almost like final. You know, it's like, for my generation, if you say you're on probation, that means, ooh, I'm getting close, darn, I have to, crank it up a little bit. But if you told me I was dismissed, I would have to pack my bags and leave immediately. So just a reaction maybe to the use of the term dismissal, if that seems to be the comment.
The last iteration that I saw that word was notice, so I don't know if it just was in, I don't sit on DGS anymore or Senate, obviously I'm not a voting member, but the last iteration I saw that word was to be notice.
Was what?
Notice.
Notice, because I 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's, for me, that feels more neutral than,
Right.
but.
So I don't know if something else.
Great question. That's why we have a first read, so
Yeah, sure, right.
we'll take this back and look at it. It may just be noticed next time you see it.
Noticed.
Been noticed.
So we'll move on to the second read, is that correct?
Yeah.
So this board policy is still under review and requires a second read, so to move it to the second read, I'll entertain a motion.
With that comment, I'll recommend that we move to the second read.
Okay.
And I will second.
Motion by trustee Lane and seconded by trustee Nunes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item 16, approval of employment agreement between the district and the superintendent president, Mr. Bratch.
Thank you. Good evening, and welcome to you, Ms. Diaz, to the Board of Trustees. My name is John Bratch. I'm the Dean of HR here. Before you tonight is the employment agreement between the College of Sequoias and Dr. Brent Calvin. As referenced earlier tonight by Mr. Macareno, in the natural order of things, when we finalized the master agreements or the collective bargaining agreements between all unions, we would typically next month bring to the board for approval the employment agreement between COS and the president. We were fully shooting to come before the board in November. All the general terms were agreed to, but we wanted to do one final pass-through with our legal counsel, Mary Beth DeGetti. And as fate would have it, unfortunately for COS, because she's been around for a long time, our attorney, Mary Beth DeGetti, this is her last month. So things were piling up on her plate, and as fast as she could work, she wasn't able to get to this employment agreement in time for the November 16th board meeting. So I did want to follow through with what Mr. Macareno said, that our intentions were to be here at the November board meeting. Be that as it may, we are here tonight at the December board meeting for the board to formally approve the employment agreement between Dr. Calvin and COS. So I would ask that the board approve this employment agreement at this time.
I'm a little confused. She was going to be here at the board meeting?
No.
Or she hasn't reviewed it?
She was not able to review it in time for the November board meeting.
Oh,
She was-
okay.
She was never going to be here. She's
Okay,
behind the
yeah,
scenes.
okay.
But we've always run,
But she has reviewed it?
yeah, we've always run these employment agreements by outside counsel because they can be complex, and we certainly want to protect everyone involved in this agreement.
I'm not sure that my colleagues would like to speak on this, but I'd like to make a few comments if I may. In just regards to this contract and some of the public comment that's been made and some of the reports. We took this very seriously. I mean, it all started actually not on his contract, but how we compensate our employee groups. And so we considered, compared to the state, because we're doing comparison, how do our employee groups stack up? And they're within the top 10. And so we're very proud of that. And there are situations where individuals have not only their agreed annual bump, but also a step in column. And if COLA was 0 and the rate was 0, they would still get a bump, and that's not the case for our superintendent. So we did consider looking at how do we, where does Dr. Calvin lie within the state? And you could compare him to college districts, but that's not a fair comparison. You'd have to compare him to CEOs and chancellors, which is individuals that work for a multi-district. So in that case, we saw that he was significantly lower, and I could have a long list of reasons why we feel he's not only done a great job and why we should do more, but I don't want to sound defensive. I want to be able to share that we did consider all the things that COS is doing for our employee groups, as well as how successful CO has been on the track that it's been. And it's really important for me to be able to say that this was not just, let's just give out money. It was, we took it very seriously. And so, we want to be able to say that our CEO is compensated well. I've gone to trustees, other conferences, trustee conferences, and hear about trustees that are there for 3 or 4 years and they're off to the next. And I don't think that's the case with our CEO, but I do think that, we want to make sure that we kind of put the blinders on any other district throughout the state, because it is important that we have a strong leader. And I think that the success that we're having is him as well as management and the whole organization. But just wanted to make a few comments about Dr. Calvin, so thank you.
Just a couple of quick comments, and Raymond, I think that was framed extremely well, particularly with the comment in terms of not wanting to sound defensive, because that's not the point. I think what we want to do is maybe just share a modicum amount of insight as to what process we went through. And we did look at a lot of information, not the least of which are the 2 superintendents within this region for other educational institutions, both of whom are at or extremely near 350,000, which is the number that we were talking about. So that's maybe one leg of a 2-legged stool of equity. The second one is if we were to take a look at an employee that started, at the 2018 sort of the high water mark of COS in terms of Dr. Calvin's involvement, they would have made it, if you take step and column and all the raises and so on, that represents about a 98% increase from that period of time. If you look at Dr. Calvin's increase during that same period of time, it's at 47%. So if we wanted to be truly equitable, as was suggested, he would be, we would be considering $450,000, not $350,000. So I think it's a prudent move by previous boards as well as the current board, and I think it's a very modest representation of our satisfaction of the success that we have had with Dr. Galvin, and that we anticipate will continue to have. So just a couple of points there.
Okay, so just a couple of quick things, if I may. Just to put it in context, if we compare our neighbors to the west, they're a multi-college district, I believe that's the term, correct? So they would have a chancellor that gets paid a salary, and then they would have a president at each of the campuses, right, that would get paid a salary. So in essence, the chancellor at West Hill College, maybe the other term that you could use, he would be the CEO that oversees the multi-campuses. Plus then they would have a president at each side. So, and if you look at West Hills, their enrollment is about 5,000, right? In that neighborhood, which is about half of what we are. And so in that context, I think I just wanted to point that out to show that there's multiple layers in a multi-college district where we have two centers that at some point could be colleges, and then, things would change, of course. But I think my whole point here is just to put that president, CEO, chancellor in proper context, so.
I have no comment.
Very good, thank you. Just wanted to be able to share some information. The only other thing that I had on my notes was in regards to a board evaluation. Every year we do a board evaluation, and we report it if it's a good evaluation, and comments on what would equate a good evaluation. We do have a document, and we do publicly state it, so it should be in the minutes in regards to evaluation. So thank you, everyone, for your comments.
Just one I would just like to thank everyone. I know a lot of folks have left, but I would just like to thank everyone that took the time to speak on the subject.
And I'll move that we approve the contract.
Motion from Trustee Sherman.
Second.
And second from Trustee Lane. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.